What's up, everybody? This is Passion9. Your boy Passion9 here with another top 10 list. This time, my top 10 favorite anime shows. Now, keep in mind here, I'm only talking about shows, not anime movies. Maybe I'll do that another time. We'll see. But today, I'm talking strictly anime TV shows, episodic serials. These are in a particular order that is very personal to me. What I think are the most interesting and most standout anime that I could condense to a single 10 list. Believe me, there are plenty of anime that are out there that I feel just as strongly about, but you can only fit so much on a single top 10 list. So this is what I've decided to gather together as my ultimate favorites. Say I was stuck somewhere on an island or whatever. These are the anime that I would take with me. So, without further ado, let's talk about number 10 on our list. Key, the Metal Idol. Now, this is a 90s gem from like 94. Not really talked about very much. I feel like this one was kind of overlooked a bit. But I love this show. I love the nostalgia of it. No anime I can think of feels more 90s than this, and that's saying something, I realize. But this is a very 90s show. Like, everything about it, from the tape recorder imagery to the outfits and soundtrack to the music that's going on with the idol stuff in the show. It's very, very 90s. And it's very personally affecting to me because of that, and I just get very strong nostalgia vibes when I'm watching it because it's like, oh my god, it's just so freaking 90s. And I love the main character, Key. She's a great little mystery. She's super moe, like, exactly the kind of character that moe is all about. You want to protect her, you want to see her succeed. You want to see her do right and achieve her dreams and all that. And it's a perfect contrast to her friend Sakura and the little buddy situation they develop over the course of the show. They form kind of a girls' odd couple situation that's kind of fun in the beginning. But then you also have just this great like cyberpunk techno horror stuff that's going on in the background that's worked into it. There's some Lynchian supernatural stuff that's worked into it. It's great stuff, and I love the way it fuses together the idea of the idol industry with this techno cyberpunk plot, including psychic powers as well, which you can't leave out. There's a lot of like Akira vibes in this show as well. So, yeah, beautiful, gorgeous, timeless soundtrack as well. I really love Key the Metal Idol. I think it should get more attention than it does, to be honest. It also has some of my favorite character designs. So, yeah, definitely worth checking out, I'd say. But that's number 10. Let's move on to number 9 on our list. Card Captor Sakura. Now every anime has its thing, Some are just cool, some are sexy, some are exciting or full of mystery, some are full of cyberpunk sci-fi stuff. And sometimes you just want cute. Sometimes cute is all you want. And for that, Cardcaptor Sakura is the show. For me, that is the ultimate cute show. Adorable as fuck. I love it. I love the color palette, the striking, beautiful color palette, and the way it subverts the shoujo genre. The fact that she's wearing a different outfit in every episode, and it's not a transformation. The suits are made by her friend, who is also a camera girl that records her fighting the monsters while she's saving the day. She's out there with a camcorder, so that's fun. I love the light, colorful bounciness of this show is really nice, and it's so sincere. There's such a sincerity to it. The shoujo genre it would get more sort of complex, and you'd have stuff like Madoka later on that would try different things. But I feel like this right here is the perfect shoujo. It's shoujo perfected. So for me, this is the anime that I watch when it comes to the magical girl genre. The movies are great too. I recommend the films. They're also wonderful. But yeah, that's my number 9. Not much else to say there because it's not a particularly complex show, but it's wonderful for what it is. It's I also like that it's not a typical good versus evil magical girl show either. It's like she's got to capture these cloud card spirits. She's got to return them to their cards, and she's basically just a magician in training. So that's the whole show. So yeah, Sakura. Let's give it up for that show. And then moving on to number 8 on our list is something a bit more adult. Welcome to the NHK. Now this is by far my favorite slice of life anime. In fact, I think it was my first slice of life anime. But regardless, I love this show. Extremely, extremely relatable for pretty much any adult out there. I love just how it deals with the failure of all these life hacks, all these different characters that are just trying to get by, trying to figure out how to adult well, and they just can't do it. Poor Sato, the main protag, he's just a guy who just wants success, just wants to do well, just wants to be happy. And everybody he comes to, every other adult friend he comes across is just, nobody has the answers. They're all fucking up in their own way. And I think it manages to deal with some really heavy themes, suicide, depression, drugs use. And it manages to do all that while still being surprisingly funny. It's comical. The characters are relatable and believable. And it does all this in a very darkly comical way that's just... It just feels like life. You know what I mean? You could feel the life in this show. And how grounded it is. And it just kind of shreds up my soul every time I watch it. My heart aches for just how true it is. It's just one of those shows. It's so true to life. So yeah, welcome to the NHK. Love it. Definitely a contender for one of my favorite anime of all time. And then at number 7, we have Gunbuster. Gunbuster! Love this show. Probably one of Gynac's most iconic of the time. I mean, aside from one other show that we'll get to. But this is just Gynax saying, let's have a grand old go to space, get in the robot, fight the aliens, save the world, save the planet. This is that show to a T. And in fact, I believe the pitch for it was, what if we had Top Gun, but with girls in outer space flying around in robots and fighting aliens? And it's got the same vibe. It's got the same like montage sort of stuff going on. The soundtrack is like super 80s. It's just so good. It's got like that just enough cheese, but it's still earnest. It still feels sincere, and it just gets your blood pumping, and it's so good. It's such a good sci-fi save the planet show. It's got enough heart too. I love the characters and the way they form their relationships over just a 6-episode OVA. It's only 6 episodes too, which is, makes it super easy to watch. Gunbuster, totally recommended. It's one of Gynax's probably their most accessible show ever, I would argue. So, definitely a great one. And moving on to number 6 on our list is Madoka Magica, the Dark Knight of Magical Girls. Great show, great series. I love how well structured it is. This is also the show that got me into writer Gen Urobuchi, who of course would go on to do Fate Zero and a number of other shows. Great writer. And I love the Faustian pact that these girls have to make with getting their magical powers. Suddenly it's a magical girl show where the magic is cautionary. It's something dangerous. It's something that comes with a cost. You know, it's not the sunshine and rainbows that you would have in Sailor Moon or Cardcaptor. So it's really challenging in that respect. Really, I love the atmosphere. That the animation and colors by Shaft are just stunning to behold. Does a lot of cool experimental stuff there. And yeah, an all-timer, I'd say. It's just a short 12-episode watch. Fantastic stuff. Very, very dark, but still manages to have hearts, especially in its ending. Uh, yeah, I love Madoka Magica. This is this is just the point where magical girl shows were like, yeah, we're gonna show you another side of this genre, which is pretty cool, pretty cool. Uh, moving on to number 5 on our list, though, FLCL Footy Cootie. Love it, great series. Another Gynax one, another one by Gynax. Another 6-episode OVA as well. Does a really great job of dealing with childhood, adolescent angst. You know, hitting puberty, having your first brush with adulthood, entering that world of adults, and realizing just how ridiculous it all is. And the show does a fantastic job of conveying this. And it does it with some of the most surreal, wacky, crazy animation that Gynax has ever put out. And goddamn, the soundtrack by rock band The Pillows kills it every time. Might be my favorite anime rock soundtrack ever. Great stuff. I could not possibly leave this off the list because it's stupendous, man. It's a stupendous show. Unfortunately, whenever you mention this show now, you have to mention its god-awful sequels. Fully Coolly Alternative and Progressive. Both are terrible. Both should be avoided like the plague, because they are horrible. Weren't even done by Gynax. They were done by Production IG. Just stay away from it. And stick to the original, because that's the good one. So yeah, Footy Cootie. Great stuff. Moving on to number 4 on our list. Vision of Escaflowne. My favorite sword, sorcery, dragon, knights fantasy anime. Love it. Kinda has a Final Fantasy VI vibe, I feel. And it is gorgeous to behold. It's what I would call like true fantasy romance. When people use the word romance, you know, they don't often mean it like, you know, in a fantasy sense, but I feel like when it comes to fantasy, this is what romance is all about. You know what I mean? This is what it means to be romantic, to have that romantic yearning for adventure. This show fulfills that for me more than anything I've ever seen. Great stuff. And I love the way tarot cards and mysticism are worked into it, as well as the giant mechs and robots. Stellar stuff, man. Just a sweeping, edge-of-your-seat fantasy anime. Absolutely adore it. Couldn't leave it off here. It's the most like Star Warsy, Tolkien-esque thing that I think I have on this list here. So, moving on to number 4 on our list. Is it number 4? Or no, it's number 3. What am I talking about? Number 3 is Cowboy Bebop. What can I say about Cowboy Bebop? I mean, it's the mood. It's the biggest mood in all of anime. Just the bluesiest, jazziest, kick-ass outer space adventure series. Spike Spiegel is a real guy. He is the realest guy. Like, this dude, man. I love his attitude. I love his just pushing through everything and being this kick-ass bounty hunter with the shady past, with the sad regrets, but, you know, he's still kicking it. He's still, you know, he can still grin and bear it all. You know, and how could you not like Jet and Faye and Ed and Ein, the little doggy? Great show, man. I love its overarching plot. I love its episodic single episodes. Really, really good stuff. Just my favorite band of anime misfits. And it is timeless. It never ages. In fact, it gets better with age. Cowboy Bebop just gets better with age. Every time I watch this show, I love it more. than I did when I first saw it. The older I get, I think the more it just sinks into me. It's like it just kind of cuts to the heart, especially real folk blues, man. Every episode ends with that killer music, real folk blues, and it just cuts my heart in two every time. I love Cowboy Bebop. Have to put it up there. So, coming back down to number 2 on our list, Serial Experiments Lane. Now, this show, let me tell you what Serial Experiments Lane is. Serial Experiments Lane is the show I want to watch when it's pouring rain outside. You know, it's a gray, rainy day. I got nowhere to go, and I'm just in a mood. I'm just in a mood to sink into this dark, cyberpunk, techno, philosophical, existential nightmare that is Lane. I want to sink into it. I want to just pull it over me like a moody, atmospheric, Lynchian blanket, and just swim away into its sea of existential network, social networking, internet, cautionary stuff. Great show. I don't know. There's a lot that could be said. There's so many words I could say about Serial Experiments Lane. It's just the most surreal, most unforgettable atmosphere I've ever seen in an anime. Best atmosphere I've ever witnessed. It just really sinks into you. And I've watched it several times. In fact, I think I've rewatched it more than any anime show I can think of, outside of maybe Bebop. Yeah, I've rewatched it so many times. And every time I watch it, I get something new out of it. Way ahead of its time and what it has to say about the internet and how we communicate through the digital world. Fascinating little wrinkles of horror and angst in there. And it's got some creepiness, but it's also got some existential dread. I love it. Just love Serial Experiments Lane. It's a whole mood. And finally, y'all, we got to come to the final show on our list here. Neon Genesis Evangelion. Now, I'll admit I thought about this one. I thought about it. Should this be my number 1? I decided yes, because you want to know why? Evangelion is everything I've ever loved about anime in one show. And somehow it manages to combine all those elements without feeling cramped, without feeling like a mess. It's scary, it's got mystery, it's got sci-fi concepts that are really cool, it's got big epic battles between giant robots and monsters, it's got characters that form memorable relationships, it's got romance, it's got comedy. It's got a little bit of everything you could want from a great anime series. Everything. The imagination, the challenging concepts and philosophy and end of the world stuff, doomsday stuff. Just a little bit of everything. Relatable human characters. Everything you could want is in this show. And I think it is a masterpiece. I think Hideaki Anno has crafted something really special here that, I don't think it's overhyped or overrated. I think this show deserves all the praise it gets. And it's another one of those shows that the more I watch it or the more I've come back to it over the years, the more I realize just how smart and intelligent it is and how much thought went into it. And I do think the End of Eva movie certainly should be essential viewing alongside it. You should see the whole thing. I don't care as much for the Rebuild movies, but, I still haven't seen 4.0, so I guess we'll see how that turns out. But this original series, again, gotta give it to Gainax once again. They've made lots of shows that could easily be on this list, but Eva is number 1 for me. So yeah, that's it. That's my top 10 anime, viewers. This is what I consider the best of the best, the cream of the crop, creme de la creme. So, until next time, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and please, live for the passion. Till next time.